All right, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Shusaku, uh, he was Yasuda Eisai before he ended up taking Honeybo name. So these are some of the earlier games that he played. This is the very first game we have on record for him, apparently. If I did not screw up my whole finding the next game thing. But now that I say that, I feel like I should double check. Yeah, okay, so the first game we have, so we basically have game records from, is this actually 400 ones? It doesn't seem right, but I think it's what I uploaded. Last stream will go, yeah, Shusaku. It's close. I don't actually have all of the games here. I'm missing a few, I believe, but it's not necessarily super important. And I think I might skip. There were a couple of like Rengos that were played. I think I might skip those, just because I haven't actually done this filter. I need to like yell at my teacher because he told me he would, and then he was like, no, just play all of them. And I'm like, I don't want to do this for 4 years. So I'm a little bit angry, but it's not a big deal because it's still nice. Okay, so we already have a guess for the next move. And we're wrong. Black does not play Q3. We are in, so these are the early game records we have. As you can tell, his name is not Shusaku yet. He doesn't have the Honeybo name. So this is very early in his career. Black, you coward. But he does step right in here. So there is a certain management of the shapes. And as long as we're going to have the cross, this seems like another way of saying, if you want to stabilize one of your two groups, I'm going to choose this one so that I have this development potential, I have this development potential, and your development potential is damaged. So white gives us the 3-space pincer. I am so confused as to why people keep on saying black popularized the 3-space pincer after like Dosaku did it or something. I've seen Dosaku do it twice. And I see people do it against Dosaku more often than I've seen him do it to other people. So the pincer is obviously not scented, so we don't really care. And when black comes in here, we're really asking white to say, do you want this, right? So this move is really begging white to come and play here. So we have this sequence, but then black does something slightly outdated, I think, by our standards and plays very tight. Now, to be fair, I assume that this is done tight because the stone is here. Just because you don't really want to give black a reason to come here and then make this Joseki almost useless as far as further development on the board. So doing this makes it a lot less interesting for black to do that, for white to do that, because then black can just pop up, right? With knowing that if we do this, then there's this weakness from the knight's move that this move enables. So I think this ends up being kind of a bit of AG management. Now, when white plays up here, white is aiming for development in this direction, likely relying on the strength of these stones, and black is going to challenge that. So white needs to choose some direction. White says, I will develop this area. And so black gets a simple, strong 1-space extension to put more pressure on these 3 stones. So those 3 stones move up. And we're seeing here, you know, these are a much smaller, more compact set of extensions than we have in our games nowadays, but they're working very carefully also because, again, this wasn't here, this was here. So white doesn't have the luxury of forcing moves in this direction to move out faster, right, or to like get a stronger shape. So white needs to be cautious. Then black does extend over here. So he's keeping the pressure away from this group slightly, but he is closing off the direction. And because he closes off the direction, it's a little harder for white to do something like this, right? It's a little harder to sort of stay connected. The shapes aren't really good. So these stones don't really have that way of going. So white is going to instead help from the other side. And I push from this area. This I would go from this direction. I think the other player was a 2-down professional, so I'm not gonna say he's weak. And I'm not looking at this with AI. But this is probably my mistake. I still sometimes screw up which direction I push from, but I would have kind of expected that this would be the weaker group. It's possible that there's some agi around here that makes pushing from this direction not a good idea. So white caps here, which closes off the direction here, and what black can now squeeze this way or that way. And the advantage, I think, of both of those things is that while black is running in either direction, then black will not be making territory, because black is going to squeeze down these two paths, and meanwhile white will either be able to get stronger and then connect out to here, or just build strength on this side. Ed would do h5 without thinking. Shusaku decides that we're going to just poke at the weakness more directly. And the way white chooses to respond to this is by creating this shape here, this triangle shape. We'll call it the Pythagorean triangle shape or something. You know, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I don't know. Which keeps a good connection between the reasonable connection between the stones. But black can push one more time because we're on the third line, and so there's some agi, especially in this area. It's just the white get them. Yes. Unfortunately, the fight here isn't really perfect, so white pulls back. Keeps black sealed in, just on a slightly wider shape. But what this does is it gives black essentially more liberties and more weaknesses to work with. So you kind of like squeezed a little bit out of white's shape, and then he goes up. So he plays these forcing moves first. It's an interesting trade. It's an interesting trade, right? Because we have. Oh wait, how well can you hear me? The microphone is far away. Well, of course h5 is coming. What do you think we are, barbarians? Of course h5 is coming. I'm guessing you'll be able to hear me a little better now. So, white uses a forcing move, which would make sense, right? If you're going to ask, can I get out? You don't really want to just do that, because again, the shape is still not good. Capping here doesn't help you a ton, because again, now there's strength and weaknesses. And so, trying to be somewhat forceful is a reasonable idea to get out with tempo. But black resists, because black has a strong group, and black is going to ask how much stronger he's allowed to get, because every strong black stone is going to damage this stone. White is okay with continuing down that direction. Black takes one forcing move, because okay, I'll respond to that. And now we have enough on this side, the left side, that we're gonna cap. So now this group is gonna be sealed in. It's gonna have to make two eyes, which you could kind of do with something like this, asking if you can connect underneath and then playing here. But Well, yeah, white doesn't have to work super hard if he can get a little bit ahead and then connect out to these stones, right? And then like all of a sudden, these stones are the ones that are out. So black is gonna ask if it's okay to go down this path. And when white says no, you know this is my territory, these are my stones, you can't have them. Black says okay, can I get out this way? And we'll notice here he's jumping through he's jumping straight through an elephant jump. Elephant eye. Black's not asking, he's just walking out. Fair enough. There is no way to resist that. So he's going to walk out, and when white sorry. When what was I saying? When white turns and Han is to, I guess, keep strength on the outside. Yes, Shusaku. Bell porridge, Shusaku. And I'm hoping... How many moves are... We're 34 moves in. It's already an interesting position because he played decidedly aggressively here, not letting white build a stronger position. Like he played at the very last time. You know, Battle Porridge, I don't know the answer to this question. I need to have an actual probably 2 or 3 hour conversation with my teacher to actually figure this out. Because Dosaku I started for myself. I wanted to go through Dosaku's games and I did it and I got a lot out of it. And then my teacher suggested I do Shusaku before Shusai. Before Shuei, I mean. Where did I put the licorice? It's an empty tin. Bloody full match. That sounds like a game that Dwyrin will cover. I don't know if we have to cover it, unless you want to hear my take on a bloody game. But anyway, Battle Porridge, the short answer is I don't know. I'm not necessarily against doing Shusaku, like all of the games, but it is 470 games, so it is 3 times as many games as Dosaku, which means we'd be doing this for 4 years. And certainly, you know, after 4 years, I would absolutely... The Sunday Shusaku game would be a staple of Twitch. That's undeniable. But yeah, I'm not sure. But at the end of that would be 1p. You better, Ed. If you know what, we can make a bet. If you're not 1p in 4 years, then I will ask you to prepare like a review of, I don't know, a review of a Dosaku game or a Shusaku game and like present it. Like a solid, like deep, solid, complex review, like really digging in. Oh no, Ed is like, no, we're not doing this. Get it in writing and short. Okay. Wait, I read something about position. What just happened? If white also allows black to the center influence, it will be helpful to develop the top position. Yeah, this area, these stones would really like to have helpers, right? And so, to a certain degree, this last move here could have gone here, for instance. Let's skip for a second. Just work with me on this one. But black would be very happy with even just that, which is a terrible move, right? It's too weak shape. It lets white essentially fix not playing there in the first place. But the amount of strength that black will get from this relationship is going to be really problematic. So white can't really afford that. And the problem is that there's weaknesses in this shape, so black is able to now poke through. And when white fixes, with an eye on the outside strength, black gets to poke through again. And when white resists, black gets to continue poking through weaknesses. And when white strengthens, and black strengthens here, white needs to use a move to stay relatively connected. White, you fool. Why is white a fool this time? And then black gets to connect. If you want to call white a fool, there's some questions around what the next move for white should be. While you're thinking about that, I'll take 2 minutes and then we'll go find the licorice, because I have a frog in my throat. Ugh. Cosmic move in the central top left area. I think white's play. So actually, I would suspect in this particular game, I would suspect the AI would disagree with you slightly. But well, either way, white generally agrees with you that we should go in this area first. The time has come to make sure these stones don't become too strong and damage this stone too much. How do you turn the sarcasm filter? Just like that. And then black pokes through and asks more questions about which groups are weak, which groups are strong, and which ones we're going to defend. So, white's double honeys. And then white comes back and protects because that's necessary. And then black turns. Now this honey is helpful to try and get ahead of, you know, what was here, those lines, to get a chance to move out. But when white decides to try and cap this and seal it, F8 seemed interesting instead of M8. The Atari? Yeah, but the Atari has kind of a... It's not like the... It's over here on an area where, you know, white has some amount of connection, and white wants to go in this direction, right? Like this area here is one that white wants to use clearly to L8. L8 instead of M8? If you're saying this. I don't know. Tell me more about why. This move is just not on my radar. Like I just don't see that move at all. I don't understand that move. That move makes sense to me, as in I look at it and I go, sure. But this one, for some reason, I feel like it's helping white get out. That's what you said, F8 instead of M8. Yeah, like if we, hang on, let's undo a couple of moves. And you're suggesting that black would Atari here, right? So the I think my concern with this is that doesn't do, I don't know how much that really impacts the life of white. Like, I feel like white just, you know, does something like this, and then this group is gonna be mostly out, and this group is gonna be mostly sealed in. So I'm like, the reason you would do this was because you would expect white to connect, right? But if you don't connect, you would expect that black would follow through. And if you do that, then I would expect, I don't know, this? Or even just that now. And then, like, what do these stones do? These stones are now D12. You're D12 for whom? And where the hell is D12? Black, probably, then. You should probably black D12. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if that press has strategic value on the board. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what does, you know, black threatens to get a bunch of territory here, but I think once you've done that, like, I don't know, like, white closes here, I don't know, attaches right over here. I hesitate to... Something about this sequence, I don't know. Maybe you're right. I am still not perfect with these things. But I think the problem with this is that once you do this, there's bigger things on the board for white to do than to respond to that. So, in other words, this is not Sente, right? And I think in this area you want to keep Sente. Right? You want to keep the pressure on. Now, if black... Because I imagine you might want to keep the pressure on by doing this to, like, threaten to cut, but, you know, white connects and then I don't know what you get. Like, you know, you get that. White threatens to connect. Actually, that's not, that doesn't threaten to connect. This is still cut off, so never mind. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's the board position minus this stone. Because if we look at the board position, I guess if we start from scratch. This group here is I'm comfortable saying this group is alive. I'm not completely certain that there's a way for white to remove 2 eyes. Black is already in control of the game. Yeah. That's why white is a fool. Oh, okay. could make black have influence for the center or have a territory advantage. Yeah, no problem, Ed. Thank you for the answer. You were thinking the press could make black have influence towards the center or have a territory advantage. So I guess to Ed's point, black does not need to worry about this right now, and the reason why is because white's shape has been gutted completely. So white has like so many bigger concerns about not like losing a crap ton of things, right? This is a very tenuous connection that white needs to like fix somehow. They need to add a stone here probably, or something like that, or even just cut it off here, right? Because if they cut it off here, then they can force black to come back. They need to get the tempo for that. But the problem is this group of stones here is going to be able to put pressure on other areas, and white doesn't want to be the one being chased in the center. So there's a concern with black having this group here, which is going to be the only stable group on the board. Well, actually, that's not exactly true. This is a stable group, right? This group is stable, this group is stable, but then these white stones aren't stable, and these white stones aren't stable. Like this move here, this forcing move that white played was not a helpful one because it gave black this additional strength that now white's strength is running into here. So when white is trying to still waking up, okay. So in this position, white is trying to do something else, right? He's trying to find a way to develop his board position, make things less bad. So the nuke is here to profit here, and then black jumps. Very simply. Because all he does now is he keeps white split, and he gives white two things to worry about. So when white helps here, he says, okay, I am happy weakening this stone, but white needs to do that to stabilize this group, right? He has to go and worry about that. And then after this sequence, when white is going to play here to try and help this stone because it got weakened by this exchange here. And it doesn't help, like the split here doesn't really help because black can go out, right? Like black has plenty of room. So it's not meaningful to try and split those stones. It's just like squeezing black out this way, or even the connection would just be bad for white. So evidence 1 of why 3-space pincer fell out of fashion. It's just not being used intelligently here. White, I think, did not consider the reason why black played the Joseki this way and played the super narrow thing here. Like he was working on this very stable shape to squeeze and then leverage the space here. And I think white did not think about that. But to be fair, pretty solid. So where are we? So black turns here now because we're going to keep some pressure on the white stones. If we seal them in, then again it's really a problem for black, right? So white is going to jump to continue the race, and this is also again an effort to stabilize the group and give it 2 eyes. What if this group is stable, then even if it gets sealed in, we only have one group to worry about. But now black gets to play here, jump, and ask about the multiple split positions. And when white tries to follow Itarios' plan to build, except, for white to build pressure, Black just very, very kindly says, okay, but you're not going to have any points here, just so you know. And this is enough to sort of prepare a reason to fight and to develop this area further, but it's not... It's building a wall in an area that's already contested. And so I have my doubts about this. This is something I wouldn't do, and maybe I should. But I would really hesitate. I would look for a different direction. The problem, of course, is what Ed mentioned, which is at this point, Black has all this territory, and White has that. So the balance is already pretty upset, especially given the fact that Black hasn't given up strength for that territory. Right, like Black has active strength on the board and has territory, whereas White is building up strength at the cost of giving a little more, some more points. That, of course, will never be White's points. So, yeah, F10 is making life difficult for these stones. It's not necessarily the end of the world. Like, White can at some point play, I don't know, like something like this, or even like the shoulder hits, right? There's something that you can try to do, but of course, yeah, the problem is even just that makes life very annoying, right? It is just frustrating to play for White, you think. So White tries to do something on this side of the board, which is commendable. Saying maybe he's got a beat, maybe he's got something he can do by exploring here. And again, the goal, of course, is going to be to use these stones, right? To use this strength and to negate some of this power that Black has. And you can see here a large part of the value of having this Shimari is that you don't have to do anything with the Shimari. Like, this is Black. D10 seems kind of sketchy. Does Black need to defend or get cut? You're talking about this move, I think? Yeah, you are. I think Dopador. Thank you for the follow. I think Black probably needs to do something about that. It's a matter of timing, because I think it might not matter. Like, the getting cut might not be an issue directly. But after this stone, anyway, right, so Black is using this Shimari as a wall, in the sense that what it's doing is keeping White away from it, right? Because Black can build all of the strength. And you see that this is as close as White dares to get, even with his own wall. So this is just not a thing to mess with. And that tempo is one that Black uses to cut. And so now White uses the second tempo to get here. So Black says, okay, I don't mind, and descends. Now White, it seems, evaluates this as being a good enough position, or, to be fair, a desperate enough position already, and we are 64 moves in, that he's gonna poke in here first. And work through this exchange that gives him the corner back. White is a fool, part 2. Pushing in Gote for 12 points. Alright, so now... This is already a very different type of board position than we would get from Dosaku games, largely because I think this player is weaker than Dosaku's opponents were. But if you were Dosaku, where would you play now? So the question you want to answer, Ed can probably find that question, even the answer even without my help. Who is this Dosaku fella? Just some dude who did things, I don't know. I heard he cheated and used AI or something. We have a vote for Q10 shoulder hits. Sounds like a cool guy. Okay, alright, we have a vote for Q10. Any other votes? I heard his AI had like 250,000 readouts. Yeah, pretty much. I cheated using Dosaku. That is my theory, Tadios. So the way you would look for the next move from a Dosaku standpoint is, where is White funneling their potential? And how can you break that apart lightly? How can you make it difficult for White to condense their effort? And so Black plays here, because this is the area that White is trying to develop. And now White has to choose whether they have to choose a direction to go in. They can't keep expanding in whatever way they want. Just call me Shusaku. Okay, Battle Porridge, we'll keep on doing this. So now, okay, next question then, Battle Porridge. White decides to clamp. What do you do next? I'm going, True, but my understanding is that Shusaku was probably the most proper of all of them. Chains Joy, hello. When you say the push through, you're talking about that? Greetings, gentlemen. Q11 or R10? Okay, so we have a vote for push through, we have a vote for Q11. We have a vote for R10. Okay. Well, Battle Porridge, I think we're going to temporarily take away your Shusaku badge. Because Shusaku agrees that clamp does not matter. That clamp is just not the important thing. We have the option of splitting off White's development and putting more pressure on these stones and limiting the value of these stones. Yeah, we're gonna do that. And because now that we're here, White is gonna try to salvage this, right? Yes, divide, absolutely. And we see here, I think, part of the reasons why we have these developments in our playstyle, where we play more often on the fourth line, because like White plays here in a very principled fashion. Divide is greater than attack. I would argue that dividing is a way of attacking, but I think I see what you're saying. I guess if you call this an attack, right, then that makes sense. And so when Black pushes, White has to pull back. And now these stones are getting so much weaker, and that's going to become so much of a problem for White so fast. But first, again, we can put pressure on these stones. Just commit the ultimate strategy. Oh no, which... I don't know this character. Oh wait. The font was too small. This is different. I don't actually know these characters. Chains Joy, what's greater than attacking? I don't mind opening Google Translate for this. I have no shame. Force. Thickness is greater than attacking, I guess. Right? Probably. Just commit the ultimate strategy. Win. I appreciate the way you've already solved the game. So white is now worrying about living, which is not a good place to be. And now we're going to very gently talk about pushing through here, because now that we're in a position where this has to live... Yeah, see, Ed? There you go. Now that you're here, you get to push, and then while white is worried about this, you get to profit in this direction and make this effort look very silly. This was Gote, and it was silly. It's not a good place to be. So white, of course, will resist a little bit, and then black is going to build the strength. God, Ed. Just learning the English words in Go? Ah, where are you from? China, ah, well, welcome to the... I didn't get the first time posting, so I guess you've posted something on my stream before, I just don't remember you, but hey, good to have you here. I will learn the Chinese words in the game, and will teach you the English ones, and I think that's a fair trade. So black says, thank you for giving me all this strength. Mapo Dofu. I don't know who that is. Oh, there's no reason, no need to apologize. Really, it's fine. But the problem, of course, is that when white goes in this direction, there's a choice. Was Dosaku English? Wait. No. Mapodofu isn't a who. Faithy is trolling. The tastiest food in all of existence. Okay, Ed, tell me more. Tell me more. This seems like not a good position for white to be in. But I suppose when you're desperate enough, you make a ko. So white is going to turn, which is fair. When you look at the way Dosaku conquered the board, you'd think he was Spanish. Nah. When I think about the Spanish conquering, I think about Magellan. So now, again, we're looking at... We're at move 87, by the way, in case... this is not necessarily super clear from the way like black just like steadily destroyed white. But we're at move 87. This game has not been going on that long in terms of moves, but a lot has happened on the board. And so white is going to say, gimme. And black is going to say no. Now, to be fair, it's not completely terrible, because you still get growth over here, but it is a heck of a gambit. Black simply jumps up, and when white plays this forcing move, we now have some room for additional co-threats, which is a start. So tofu simmered with minced meats, Sichuan peppercorn, chilies, ginger, dobanjang, dochi, and some other mess. Wow, that sounds good. That sounds delicious. Not modern skills. Japanese Rome. Yeah, Ed. Chains. Faithy is just trolling. Faithy knows who Dosaku is. He's been here before. So, black is going to ask some more questions very directly related to the co-threats. to the code, right? First local code threats. Always. And white is trying really hard to reduce all of this, and he's trying to see if he can get more to maybe just change things or cause a liberty race to squirrel in here. But he is a little bit short because does white have points? I think white has a couple of points here. Like, you know, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I want to give white 25 points. I just searched. Yes, the A side. Yes, I'm sorry, Chains Joy. This is a game from before he joined the Honinbo house and took the Honinbo name. So he is not Shusaku yet. But that is him. That is who we're exploring. And we have a second Ko because, of course, I have dropped a capture somewhere. No one of those moves I saw. No offense, not enough effective. Yeah, white is not good. What compared to Shusaku. White asks about connecting. Black says no. You're gonna have to deal with your own weaknesses. And here, Black just closes that shape. And so what we have here, we have a group of stones here that are still not going to be alive just yet. Finally, white comes back here and makes the Ko just a tiny bit more directly meaningful. So Shusaku says no. White takes another forcing move here. Black can literally play N9. I'm sure that's coming. But I think it's a matter of timing. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Well, so black goes around the Ko by descending here, so white has a question to ask, and it's about what to do with this board position. And the answer that white comes up with is to play here. So white is also looking at this area of the board and saying he doesn't want this group to die completely. And so he sets up a connection. And he makes, of course, the Ko bigger. Right? Ko for the game now. Absolutely. As if it weren't, I guess that's an advantage or a good thing white managed to do here is if white wins this Ko, then this is going to be territory. And it's going to be very nice. Since white's group on the center left is still weak, if white tries to punish N9 too hard, black will get the strength to attack it by... Yep. No, that makes sense. And that's what... And I think that is one thing that makes white's moves very local. Is it's trying to keep black away from this group right now. Now, white says, can I make I shape. Connect is less good than twine. Twine? I'm not sure I know what twine is. The twine is like a thread. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it might be... it might be the Kusumi. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. So when white plays here, black cuts off this area, this little stone. So now these stones are forced to go over here or win the ko or do horrible things, but we have weaknesses in the shape that might be egregious. So white gets to take the ko one more time. And 5, 4, okay, I have the right number of captures. And now we begin to really close off this area by asking how far we can go. So white needs to respond to stay connected. And so black has one more cook that used. White gets to poke at the eye shape here, which is, fair. And black responds by creating more co-threats in this area. And then black will again poke, getting stronger, saying it's okay, I need to work out what I can do here. And now white goes back, because we gotta continue. We have to continue fighting this ko. So black continues to poke at the shape to use the ko threats. Attack A, threaten B, then aim on C. Oh, a coordinated attack. Right. Yeah, I don't know if there's a good word for that. So white is now looking for other threats. So white will say, is it okay if I save this stone, which will also threaten these stones? And as a result, if I surround in this area, I might be okay. Which, not an unreasonable way of looking at the world, but black does have some threats they can use to, threaten to kill a whole bunch of stones. And this, I think, here, what we're seeing is the cool thing that we're seeing is black kept his forcing moves until he needed them, right? Like black could have played this just because white has to defend, but that would have basically white would have known the stone was on the board and played differently. Now black gets to play the stone because it's useful to the board position itself, not just because it's there. Right? So when black connects, then black continues to jump out. And so Black continues to funnel this weak group here, although now it's so much closer to having eyes, even though it still needs a move, right? And he still gets to harass all of these things. Now these stones again are depending on the ko. Approaching. I don't know. Would this be the concept of hangma in Korean? It's different, right? Because like hangma is like the flow of stones, but like the direction of play. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's just so white needs to go back and play this move here, which is good. Black has to connect, which is fine. And then white is gonna try very hard to get something going here. Is the Texas tournament on today? I don't know. I didn't know there was a Texas tournament on. No, Battle Porridge, based on the way Chains Joy described it, I think it's more about using a sequence of forcing moves to change the board position. So I think it might be Kikashi, essentially, or like a method of using Kikashi. It actually sounds a lot like what I used to see Dosaku do a lot, which is create a board position with a bunch of Mii positions, and then play forcing moves to change the balance of these positions, and then change the board position that way. And then before you know it, you're looking at a different game where Dosaku has an advantage. Also, hello, Positive. I see Dosaku. Well, yeah. Well, no, actually, that's my greatest problem is I don't see Dosaku everywhere. I'm like, but people should do this. And they go, how does it work? I'm like, I don't know. I think Dosaku would be able to make it work. And it's not a good argument because I feel like Dosaku could make anything work. This move has to be super painful because it's like, yeah, I'll try to make eyes somewhere, but this is clearly a really gigantic problem for white, because again we go back to Ed's question, which is where are white's points? And like, yeah, white has a couple of points here, white has a couple of points here, but it's not going so hot. And then black gets to go back and take that stone, because why not? You doze off. Well, you woke up early. So white takes this. He's trying to make these points here. It's commendable. But then this move's kind of interesting. Sir, what do I think of KJ and Shinjin So? I don't know. I'm going through the games in chronological order. I'm in 1839. I am nowhere near 2020. I don't actually really know how they play. I should take a look at a better look at them. But for a very long time, a lot of the players played a very like aggressive, super fighty game, because I think they were trying to like work like Lee Sedol. and I could not understand that style of play. Like, yeah, Shinjinso, I think, plays a lot like... He basically memorizes, you know, massive AI variations, I think, or possibly he actually understands, like, super complicated fights and manages them well. But I think before I can get to their games, I have to be a lot better at reading. Because even this game, I can kind of catch the high level. I mean, Ed, to be fair, who do you think doesn't train daily with AI? Shinjin Sopra is a bit like Dosaku, you think? Okay, well, Battle Porridge, now I'm curious. Now I clearly have to look at his games. Right? Clearly have to do something about that. But more aggressive than Dosaku was, yeah, okay. Well, I'll have to take a look. This is such a sad, sad result for White. I guess that Dosaku means... I don't know, let me take a look at these characters. Banin Fang road policy? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. Yes, it's that guy. Oninbo Dosaku. You got him, Chains. Yeah, Kuroshiro, that's a interesting game. You can probably... You actually might not know who Black is if you're not familiar with his pre-Honinbo name. But Kuroshiro, Yasuda Eisai is Honinbo Shusaku. So this is one of the very early games that... Oh yeah, actually, let me... Allow me... I should make a Nightbot command for this. But... I liked Shusaku before he was cool. So, Chains Druid, this is a stream I did back in November or something, where I actually spent a couple of oh god, I need to keep track. Very typical of what? So, anyway, so Chains Droid, the YouTube link I shared, attacking, killing, calculating. Okay, nice. So the YouTube link I shared was a game that Dosaku played against another player, and this game came to be known as Dosaku's masterpiece. And, nice. And Dosaku's masterpiece is named such because it's a 2-stone handicap game. So he played against... He had 2 stones. His opponent had 2 stones. He lost by only 1 point. But the amazing thing about it is that the other player played an incredibly good game as well. Like, his opponent made, I think, maybe a handful of like 2 or 3 point mistakes. Dosaku only made 1 3-point mistake. If you look at the entire game with AI with like deep visits, and if you look at the way the AI plays the game, if you look at the way it flows, and you kind of play through the agi, you know, because the AI likes to burn agi in a particular way, then you can see that Dosaku actually played the game exactly the way the AI would have played the game. Like, it is the exact same plan that he followed all the way through. Some slight differences in the way he approached some of the moves, because the AI is kind of more sort of aggressive, more tightly wounded, tightly wound around some of the exchanges. But it is so amazing to follow that and say, yeah, this is actually what the AI was saying, was go here, go here, go here, go here, go here. And it just does it. Ed, that seems only fair. Yeah, so the thing that makes Dosaku interesting is that he has amazing positional judgment, which was another thing for which we are proud. You know, we look at Shusaku's games for the same reason. His positional judgment is amazing, and he was a very, very strong reader and a very, very strong fighter. So, because in Dosaku's time he played against many people from the Yasui house who were very strong fighters as well, you can see a lot of his games evolve into very complicated reading fights, like very like whole board reading fights. And you can see the way Dosaku manages those, and it's really impressive and really subtle, and it's just so good to look at. So if Shinjin So plays a little bit like that, yeah, holy crap, I gotta take a look. Also, what's up, Zevi? White needs to do something about not dying, right? That's kind of important. Why is White still playing this game? I don't have a good answer. Look, maybe he doesn't, I don't know, maybe he doesn't see how bad it is for him, although I kind of doubt it. The Twitch app again, like a week ago. Nice. Adjust feelings and emotions and manners. Always. So we are asking if we can split. White will look for a way out. Crawlers, thank you for the follow. White continues to connect. Black pokes now at whatever territory this might be. White asks if he can work his way through. Black stays connected, makes this stone pretty much useless, makes it hard for White to really connect. White is gonna keep on trying. One more effort. Black will choose to connect over here. White says, I'm gonna make another few points. Black says, okay, if he wants to really, really count, we can do this. They're really balancing out the connections here. White gets to connect. And black connects. Alright, so this is the last move we have in the game record. It's worth knowing that white doesn't resign this game. Black wins by 2 points.